Hello, everybody. This is Noah and John, and we are from UrbanDigs, and it is Monday. So you're going to get your Brooklyn weekly market update. John, let's get right to it. I'm looking at Brooklyn supply, came in at 32.91. Show me that chart.
32.91 is the count in Brooklyn. Noah, that's 1.5% up from last week. And if you're actually looking at year over year, we're actually down somewhat from last year. So, we had a lot of supply on last year. There's still a lot of supply in Brooklyn, but just not as much as it was last year.
All right. Thank you, Johnny. When we move on to Brooklyn demand, I'm looking at pending sales, 3,084. Johnny, show me that chart.
Yep, 3,084. That's 1.5% down from last week as well. Things are kind of going into contract here a little bit slower. That's the trend, but keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, we're kind of at the same place we were last week. Supply is kind of trickling higher, pending sales trickling lower. It looks like the market pulse is still around the same levels as last week, probably forming some type of bottom before the next move. We don't know which way the next move is going to be.
Right.
But typically the next move is going to be for the market pulse to go up, because that's when all that stuff that came on is probably going to go into contract. We'll see what happens. Let's take a look at those weeklies, John. I'm looking at the ticker. I'm looking at Brooklyn. I see supply, 301 things came on the market. Looks like it's going up. Show me that chart.
It is going up, Noah. That's almost 9% higher than last week in terms of the units coming onto the market. That's the biggest week we've had since the post-Labor Day week. So stuff's coming on.
Yeah, how long does it last? That's the question. Very interesting. Kind of late, too. A little October. We're getting into the second half in October. Oh, we'll keep an eye on it. Let's look at contract sign. That's starting to tick up again. 216 things getting into contract in Brooklyn last week. Johnny, show me that chart.
Yeah, it's another week over 200. 216 is actually two more than last week. So really unchanged in terms of percentages wise. But look, you're adding them into Brooklyn, but they're taking them away really quickly. Net Brooklyn's still very choppy here, but it looks like I don't want to go out on a limb, but we may have seen a bottom in activity for Brooklyn. It may be ticking up now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When you look at this stuff right over here and you add these two together, it's getting close to this number here. And when I look at the monthly, it's a similar phenomenon right over there. If I look at these two numbers here, it's just below what's coming on. So inventory has a slight pressure to the upside, but nothing crazy at all. All right, Johnny, we'll just keep an eye on it. Well, let's go to the chart du jour in Brooklyn today. It's going to be the rental market, Johnny. We're going to break down the rental market in Brooklyn. Let me explain to you what we're looking at here. These green bars are Brooklyn median rental asking prices, right? We're obviously looking at what we got. When I look at this orange line, that is signed new listings on a monthly basis. So all the number of new listings signed and leases rented, that's all that. And then we got the new listings coming to market, the active rental inventory coming to market, Johnny. And you put all that together, and this is what it looks like. So you're the analytical wizard. Break this down for us.
So there's some squiggly lines here. No, let's talk about the squiggly lines first. So it seems like the shape of the first half of the squiggly line is about the same as the last part of that squiggly line, at least on the yellow side. To me, that's a return to seasonality because we have a peak in signed leases in the summertime, which is kind of has been the playbook for the last 60 plus years in real estate rentals, which is that the leases get signed in the summer. Usually you also see an increase in new listings at that time as well. We did see a little bit this summer, but honestly, not a lot. And that kind of helped push, rents higher. So if you look at those green bars, you'll notice that associated tick up during the summer as that supply was constrained while at the same time demand was just unleashed. So what now? Well, if you look at that last bar, it's come off a little bit as the lease signed has come back down a little bit. And but new listings are still low. So there's still a little bit of pressure, I think, for rents here. I think they will go sideways. I don't think there's a lot of pressure up, but there could be in the spring.
I agree with the mixed. Looks like we're sideways, especially when I see leases go like this. But again, I do respect your seasonality call. I want to bring it to attention a couple of things. We had a nice recovery. Off this bottom. Sometimes you have a couple of down months before you go back up. Like, look right here. We went down a little bit here before we continued up over here. Sometimes that does happen. And I also want to just bring your attention to the spread between the blue line and this yellowish line. When the market was not so good for renters, look how wide that spread is. Right? That's how wide it is. And when the market starts to change a little bit, that spread collapses to what we're seeing right over here. And again, you could see like this is the dramatic COVID era, right? Where the spread just totally collapsed and went the other way for a little while. All right. So you could tell by the spreads whether or not this market's kind of chilling out or taking a fade or reversing. And it looks like it's fading a little bit, Johnny.
It is, and I would normally agree with you, but there's one caveat here, which I would say is that spread's collapsing because signed leases is coming down, but new listings is also going down. So it's not a case that new listings is increasing at the same time that signed leases is coming back. They're both sort of falling, but signed leases is actually just falling a little bit faster. So
Yeah.
that could lead to excess inventory, which could depress prices, but I'm not sure that we're there yet. I think we're sort of at
Yeah, you're right. I mean, inventory has been falling since last summer.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn. I mean, it had some brief up moves here that didn't last long at all. Very interesting, Johnny. And I guess if I break down asking rents, year-over-year change in asking rents in Brooklyn, okay, I think we have for the last year and a half or so here, and I show you by bed count, this is what that chart looks like. And this is just an interesting chart all around, Johnny. Why don't you break this one down?
Yeah, I mean, each colored bar is its separate bed count. And what's interesting to me, Noah, is just look at these last ones. I mean, even if you start in February, what's the one constant there is that red bar, and that's one beds.
Yeah.
And then, in August and September, we're seeing also some increases in the studios. But let's contrast that to what we saw in Manhattan, which is we saw the 2 and the 3 beds really leading the way in terms of price recovery. But here in Brooklyn, we're seeing the studios and the 1 beds. And if I'm going to put on my sort of prognosticator hat, I would suggest that, there's maybe fewer shares being rented. Maybe people post-COVID are more interested in sort of having their own place. Is that bullish or bearish for rentals? I'm not sure, but apparently it's helping out the studios and apparently the 1 beds.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm not going to go anywhere near your prognostications. They're far too advanced for me. I'm going to let the data speak for itself. It looks like we're starting to get into a mixed market after a nice recovery. This could very well be a very small little bump, and then we go up again. Yeah. Again, this is what happens October, November. So we'll see. We're in the beginning part of it. But thank you, John Walkup, for bringing all this data up. I am Noah Rosenblatt. We are both from UrbanDigs. Don't forget, if you guys got questions, we got answers. Please visit our forum right down here. Otherwise, this has been your Brooklyn Weekly Market Update, and we'll catch you next time.